I very much appreciate your visit. Take care, Amber.
You too.
Bye
You too.
bye. Well, now let's get Ryan Turner and Penny Lazarus on screen. They're going to be talking to us about the semester's plans for the Newburyport Choral Society. Ryan Turner is music director for the Newburyport Choral Society. He had the challenge of starting out with the Choral Society just as a pandemic hit. And Penny Lazarus is also section leader and something of a music maven for Newburyport, if I must say, and a total Renaissance woman. So welcome to both of you, and thank you for being here to talk about your plans for this second semester of virtual rehearsal for the Newburyport Choral Society. Ryan, thank you for coming. I appreciate you being here. And Penny,
nice to
thank
see
you as well. It's nice to have you. You're both return visitors to the morning show. I wanted to start out asking you about last semester, because last semester was the Choral Society's first foray into having virtual rehearsals. So how'd it go? What worked well? What was challenging?
Well, first of all, good morning, Mary. Great to see you, and thank you for having Penny and me on the show. Good morning, Penny. Nice to see you as well. Good morning. Last semester was an enlightening and invigorating and huge learning experience for me. Many may not know that I had been sort of out of the community chorus realm for 10 years. I had conducted the Concord Chorale and the Concord Chorus for 10 years and then took a 10-year hiatus from conducting community choirs while I was doing my work at Emmanuel, which I'm still doing, and then came back to the community chorus realm and was perhaps most excited about forming relations and creating a sense of community. And that was the one thing that we were deprived of.
Yeah, I know.
So, and not knowing anybody really, other than in little Zoom meetings, and he's only hearing the chorus sing once. Well, twice. I'd been to a concert and heard the chorus sing, of course, at my audition. So it presented numerous, I don't want to say challenges, I'll say opportunities. Opportunities to find new ways to make music, new ways to enrich. And for me, it was a huge learning experience to figure out how to do this on Zoom. Every Tuesday when I'd leave, prepare to do this, my wife would jokingly say, "Are you ready for your one-man show?" Because that was so often what it felt like. That you don't get, there's no visual, verbal cues. You're not reading body language, face. You can't respond to what you're hearing. So much of what a conductor does in rehearsal is your planning as a conductor is to know the score inside and out. And then you take what the choir gives you and you respond to it. And then you guide them and help them along. And you can't necessarily always plan for where they might have troubles.
Yeah.
So a lot of what I was doing when we would sing, which would be limited because of all the challenges of Zoom, is anticipate where might there be a difficult passage, where might there be problems. So, and we had some fantastic guest speakers, and Penny one day gave us a very interesting presentation on art, on the artwork during the time of Fauré's Requiem. So there were a number of activities that we were able to do that we wouldn't normally have had the time were we preparing for a concert. So learned a lot from it, and I'm looking forward to essentially the same format with some enhancements moving into the spring.
Ryan's being very self-effacing, but of course it was true that he would do these wonderful things but had no idea what we were thinking on the other side or responding. So as you can even see in this moment, Ryan has this presence that radiates through the screen, so that as being on the other side on these Zoom rehearsals, we felt you, Ryan. It seemed as if you were really talking to every one of us. And in fact, and that way, it was a kind of deeply personal connection, because you were sometimes the only face we were seeing. We got each of you, we had you individually. And good good music directors can make that connection with their singers, no matter if they're standing on a stage or standing in the orchestra pit or being, in one screen on Zoom. And Ryan made us feel like he knew us, he understood us, he heard us. He was excellent in judging where we might struggle in a new score that we were learning, so that he could predict very well and hit those spots for us to work on our own. And but unfortunately, Ryan, you could never feel the connection that we were trying to send through the atmosphere. So the Zoom rehearsals worked very, very well. Because I'm a section leader, I would hear, Ryan would get lots of responses too from the chorus, but I would get responses from my section immediately after rehearsal about how well it went, what great singing tips Ryan provided to all of us. We have to keep our voices in shape, they're muscles. And if we don't keep singing, there won't be much of a choral sound to come back to when we get to meet again in the fall. So it was very effective and it was very engaging.
Well, now is when I come transparent and say, yes, I'm a member of the Choral Society, and I was there too. And I've just underlined several times and put in capital letters everything that Penny just said, and the opportunity to have the strangely one-on-one instruction with Ryan, and also the array of guest speakers. They were tremendous. And so that makes me even more eager to hear about your plans for the coming semester, which will start, I think, registration is ongoing already. So tell us about plans for the spring session, and I'm particularly curious to find out, I know the theme is, how can I keep from singing? So tell us how you arrived at that theme, and what are the plans?
Sure. Well, we start February 2nd is the first Zoom session, and I think we're meeting for 13 weeks with 1 week off in the middle. In any case, yeah, the theme, how can I keep from singing? That's a hymn or a song that I've always been intrigued by, especially the text, and it seemed obviously apropos during this time of struggling to find ways to sing together. And there was a piece by a Canadian female composer, Sarah Quartel, that she had arranged this hymn by Robert Lowry, a very compelling arrangement that is accessible and challenging at the same time, which it's not always easy to find that mix, that I thought might be something. One of the things, let me back up, one of the things that I've wanted for Newburyport Choral Society is to have a sort of collection of repertoire that we sing every year, and that if somebody, let's flash forward 10 years, comes back to sing with us and hasn't been with us in a while, they know this piece.
Yeah.
And there's a sense of community that's created by a common repertoire. And also an opportunity, if we ever want to gather in smaller groups or we can't get the whole group together, these pieces are in our DNA, as it were, that we can just sort of get together and sing. The text is fantastic. And so that was my starting point. And in a music committee meeting, Penny, who is such a treasure for the Newburyport Choral Society, as I'm learning more and more, and she's the smell notwithstanding, she's like an onion, and we keep peeling layers back, and I learn more and more about Penny's rich knowledge and experience. And as I was presenting this to the music committee, Penny, in her amazing way, found a way to weave together a theme, and what came out of this is this idea that over time there have been numerous groups that have been kept from singing, have been marginalized, have been discriminated against, and what are their stories, and how have they resisted, and how have they continued to sing. And so with that as a theme, I have, in addition to the composer, Sarah Quartel, who's going to come meet with us on April 20th, we will have a colleague of mine, Brad Dumont, who's also on the board of the Greater Boston Choral Consortium. He has a whole prison ministry of working with incarcerated individuals and how they can continue to make music. So he's going to come speak to us on February 16th about singing and making music in incarceration and what that means. Um, then we have an incredibly vibrant and up and coming conductor who is the assistant conductor of Vocal Essence, which is a professional choral ensemble out of Minneapolis. This gentleman's name is George Philip Schultz, or he goes by GPS, and he also conducts their youth chorus, which is an intentionally diverse youth chorus. And he will be joining us, and along with the Greater Newburyport Children's Chorus, is going to be on this Zoom with us as well, to talk to us about what he calls transformative community engagement, and talk to us about how these, especially in his youth chorus, these groups of students that have been kept from singing or marginalized or have met so many obstacles, but how they've fought through and how he's able to create this community of singers. And also talk to us a little bit about how we, as a predominantly white community, can sort of work against our white privilege and can engage with a community that we otherwise might not, and educate ourselves on this. And then we have this another gentleman.
Wait, Ryan,
Oh, yeah,
a little
please.
bit, right, because I met Philip Schultz this summer. He offered two people in the Boston area, NATS Boston, the National Association of Teachers of Singing, and Boston Singers Resource, and the Greater Boston Consortium. There were three groups that gathered around Philip and opened it up to anyone who was interested. And I was able to join a month-long conversation with him. And the talks were called Table for More. And the idea was inviting more people, more singers to the table of this, wonderful genre of choral singing. He was magnificent. You have to join this semester, and you have to hear these speakers. And one of the things that he's done with his group of engaging students of color, high school students of color, to sing together, was that through grant writing, there is no tuition. They are given dinner. They are given all of their performance clothing needs. They are provided transportation. And that's crucial because some of those students would come from such difficult households. They may be caught in the moment and not able to get to rehearsal. And Philip would actually notice that somebody was missing and drive to their house and pick them up and bring them back. So it gave every moment that they could all be together. And so he will show clips of their singing. They sometimes write their own music and write their own words, write their own poetry. And they're just amazing. But he has so much more to say to all of us. So Ryan is leading the Choral Society in this new profound call, also based on Black voices, making Black singers' voices matter. So it's attached to Black Lives Matter. And one of the things that they are recommending is the sensitivity we have, not just to the pieces that we're singing. And Ryan has been leading that charge with our Choral Society. We've been singing pieces by color, wonderful, wonderful pieces by Black composers that we're now being exposed to. But Philip also talked about, he doesn't even recommend the word inclusion. He recommends the word belonging. So, and it's a whole different energy. It's not bringing people into what we're already doing. It's widening what we're doing and changing what they're doing to accept and make everybody feel welcome.
Well, these plans,
it's going to be a supercharged semester. So Ryan, go ahead and continue.
Yeah. Oh, now it sounds wonderful. It just sounds fascinating and educational and transformative. And I'm curious to find out, because I'm sure people listening or watching will want to know, can anyone participate, even if they haven't been a singer before, been part of Choral Society before?
Absolutely. So registration is going on right now. So all you have to do is go to the Newburyport Choral Society website, and there'll be information about how to sign up. Registration, it's $75. But if money is a concern, if you're not back to work because during this period of COVID, you can speak to the membership committee leader, and your membership will be waived. They will even help with the purchase of music. So high school students should also join. And registration will continue until February 9th.
Okay.
So you could even attend 2 sessions and then still register.
Okay.
And then let me just give let me give you an email. It's info@newburyportchoralsociety.org that you could write with your own questions if you want. Or you could call 978-462-0650.
Okay.
And then somebody will get back to you. So definitely we encourage new people to join. People who just would like to be a fly on the wall and watch all of this, or take a gamble on joining in the warm-ups and the singing and learning music, because you're going to only be heard by your 4 walls. And
and how can you keep from singing after all?
Exactly.
Well, Ryan, in closing, 2 things. Just first of all, anything else that you wanted to add about your plans for the semester, and then what are your hopes for the summer and maybe next fall in terms of maybe actually being able to gather together?
Great questions. I'll just to sort of wrap up what's happening in our season 2 there, I just want to mention one other guest. Is a gentleman named Dr. Ahmed Ansaldua, who is a Mexican-Egyptian composer, conductor, and pianist, who is, along with, he's co-editor of a book that's called the Justice Choir Songbook, and where it's a collection of songs that some are new and some are repurposed, that are selected from a national call for scores and older scores, and these are all songs with texts towards social justice and environmental justice. He is going to come be a guest and talk to us about this Justice Choir Songbook, and how can we as choral singers be part of this call to action for justice and for diversity, equity. I was going to say inclusion, but I'll say belonging instead.
Very good.
And then we'll also have a vocal pedagogy specialist come talk to us about vocal health. As far as And I just wanted to say one quick thing about the repertoire. One of the things that I discovered over the course, because of our members giving some really helpful feedback, was that there are challenges, as we knew, to singing on Zoom, especially if you are new to the group, or part of the beauty of community singing is that you have each other to lean on and to learn from and to guide each other. And, of course, that's missing on Zoom. So one of the things that we're doing this term is we're going to recall some older repertoire that is familiar. And I'm sort of going with the idea of something old, something new. And so finding some balance so we have the opportunity to sing some things that are familiar and at also the same time, push the envelope a little bit and challenge us. So, and then moving on to your question about what do we hope for the future? Well, we hope that, oh gosh, we have many hopes.
Yes, we do. Really.
Exactly. Of course, singing in a large group, 120 singers, and having an audience is probably one of the last things that we'll be able to do as a society, and we recognize that. And at the same time, Lord knows I'm going to push to get us to being together safely as soon as possible. And so, we are incredibly optimistic and hopeful that come fall we can start to slowly gather again. And, the hope is that we'll have a triumphant and joyful return to community singing at our holiday concert in December. And, and if we're so fortunate as to be together before then in smaller groups, even better. But I think realistically, we're looking at December.
Yeah. Well, we can hope, and time
Yes.
will tell. And hopefully we'll have a more expansive vaccination program available, soon.
Mm-hmm.
Ryan and Penny, thank you so much. It sounds like an extraordinary semester, and I really appreciate your taking the time to come on the morning show to talk to us about it. But we're sadly out of time for today. So thank you for watching and listening, everybody. I hope